Good day to all y'all AV1s. Welcome to Audio Visual, which we are going to be today talking about the Sony XDCAM. It's the main camera that you're going to be using for your audio visual pathway now. And we're going to go over some of the basic things so you know. Some of the basic settings so you can make sure your camera is all set and ready to go for your first shoot. Now, what we're going to talk about first is your iris. Your iris is how much light is let onto the sensor. Most of the time on inside situations, you want it at 2.8, which is wide open. And to make sure it's at 2.8, you press the iris button when it's in manual. Make sure your camera is in manual mode. There's a switch on the back that says auto and manual, and it should be down and in manual. And on your iris, once you press the iris button, there's a scroll wheel in front of the screen, flip out screen, and you use it to adjust it. And once you get it adjusted to where you need it, you are good. The next thing we're going to be talking about is your gain. Your gain is how grainy the video is going to look pretty much. And you don't want your video looking grainy. And most of the time on your gain, you will have it set to 6. To make sure your gain is set to 6, you just press the gain button and use the scroll wheel like you did for changing your iris. Next thing is your shutter speed. Your shutter speed should be double of what your frame rate is. And for this camera right now, it's set to 24 frames a second, which is what your camera should be set to for most of your shoots. Now, if you grab a camera and some other kid has been messing around with it and changing frame rate, you need to know how to make sure it's in 24 frames a second for your best looking. Because only time you want to shoot in 30 or 60 frames a second and when you want to slow it down in Premiere Pro, which you will learn later in this pathway. But for right now, you want to keep it simple and keep it at 24 frames a second. That's the most cinematic look you can get. So, to make sure it's in 24 frames a second like this camera, you go and press the menu button, which is right underneath your flip out screen. Once you press it, you're going to have a few buttons here that pop up. The first button that pops up on the menu, you want to go down one to where it has an arrow going both ways. Then you want to go over one to record set, press down record set, then go down to record format and click on it and make sure your camera is set to 1080p/24p FX. So that's what you set it to. Then once you get done doing that, you want to make sure you got good audio. So you're going to press menu again to exit out, and according which audio you're using, if you're using your XLR mics, then you're going to make sure that your mic is set to shoe mic. So to make sure it's set to shoe mic, you press the menu button again, go down to the music note, over to mic select, and make sure it's set to MI shoe mic. Once it's set to that, you're good. And that's pretty much all we got to go over on the menu system. Now, for your zoom and focus, you got this, it spins right here, so you can adjust your focus here. And there's a switch right here that you can change, and it should be set to focus, most of them. Sometimes it might be set to zoom, but you want to set it to focus so you can adjust your focus. And for your zoom, if you want to use that for your zoom, you can. But you got two other ways for zoom. You got a button on top of the shoe mount here that you can use for zoom. And you have a zoom button on this side where the strap is. So once you figure all of that out and get everything set up, you need to know where your record button. You got a record button up here, which you can set down to where you can hold. If you flip the switch around the record button to hold, you got to hold record button down to record your footage, which I don't recommend because that means you're going to have shaky footage, even if you got it on a tripod, because when you record, you don't want any movement so whatever on the camera unless you're intentionally planning to have movement in the camera, which you at first don't need any movement in the camera. We want still shots first. So you make sure that it is in records, start and stop, and you press down the record button and it should start recording. Or you have a stop and record button on the back side of the camera here. And that's pretty much all that you're going to need to know about the Sony XD camera. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I hope y'all enjoyed this class and produce some cool and fun videos. This is Caleb Causey signing out from AV3. Peace.